Welcome to the deep dive. Today, well, you've given us some really fascinating source material here. It's about something called Velvet Shadows, Tales for Curious Souls.
Mm.
So our mission basically is to explore this, get to the heart of what this Velvet Shadows thing is all about, figure out its core DNA, what makes it different. And right off the bat, looking at this material, it's clear this isn't like your standard show.
No, definitely not.
It talks about being a place where voices linger in candlelight, which is already quite a picture, and that stories are not just told, they're felt.
Mm.
That's a pretty bold claim for, an audio experience, right?
Mm.
What do you think that actually means for the listener?
Well, I think what's striking is how it immediately kind of pushes aside the usual fantasy ideas.
Right.
It's not about the big magic and monster stuff we see a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, the focus seems to be entirely on these, well, subtle atmospheric things. Like
Yes.
the source says, whispers behind closed doors, promises made at midnight,
Light promises, yeah.
and longing wrapped in velvet silence. It feels less about plot points and more about creating a specific mood and emotional space.
That makes sense. So it's really aiming for a listener who values that introspection, maybe, that atmosphere over, say, big action sequences.
Exactly. It's looking for a particular kind of engagement.
And they're quite specific about who that listener is, aren't they? The material calls them curious souls, dreamers, and specifically adults.
Adults, yeah. Not necessarily for kids.
And it mentions those who crave stories that touch the skin and the spirit. That phrasing really suggests something quite intimate, almost like it requires you to slow down and, well, pay attention differently.
I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
It says it's for listeners unafraid to step into the quiet and listen. Which, in today's world.
Yeah, with all the noise.
Right. It feels like an intentional contrast, an invitation to something more mindful, almost meditative, like you said. And the settings they mentioned, a hidden temple, a forgotten kingdom, a locked tower where someone knocks after dark.
Ooh, that last one.
Yeah, adds a bit of unease, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But these aren't just, interchangeable backdrops. They feel crucial to building that specific atmosphere, immersive, maybe a little unsettling.
So each place is like a promise of a certain kind of journey, but maybe more internal than external.
I think that's a great way to put it, an internal journey as much as anything else.
Okay, so to make this a bit more concrete, the source material actually teases one story title, The Elf's Midnight Visit.
Ah, okay.
Now, based on everything we've just talked about, the whispers, the longing, that quiet mystery, what kind of elf does that title suggest to you? Because my mind doesn't jump to, like, Santa's helpers.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Given the context, it makes you think of something maybe more ethereal, perhaps a slightly eerie, like you hinted.
Yeah, eerie is a good word.
It conjures that blend of quiet intrigue and maybe something a bit uncanny. You expect a visitor bringing secrets, perhaps, or even a touch of sadness, not just cheerful news.
Right. The title itself primes you for that subtle, emotional, atmospheric experience we've been discussing.
Exactly. So pulling it all together, the core appeal of Velvet Shadows, based on what we have here, it's really this invitation.
An invitation to...
Just something intimate, yeah. Immersive listening experience that's deliberately crafted to, well, resonate, to stay with you, as the source puts it. It wants to linger after the audio stops.
It feels less like something you just put on in the background and more like, I don't know, an event, a personal ritual almost. And the material encourages that directly, doesn't it? It tells the listener, light a candle, let the shadows gather.
Yeah, that's quite a specific instruction.
What's the point of that, do you think? That active role you're supposed to take. It's not just listening, it's preparing to listen.
I think it's about creating a dedicated space, mentally and physically, in a world where we're constantly multitasking, scrolling.
Right, fragmented attention.
Precisely. Velvet Shadows seems to be asking for your full presence, your focus.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, our listener.
Yeah, something to consider. In this age of just constant information overload, data dumps, quick updates, how valuable is it really to find content that deliberately prioritizes feeling?
Feeling and atmosphere above all else.
Right. Content that encourages you to just step into the quiet, to actually listen and let a story connect on a deeper level, to touch the skin and the spirit, as they say, rather than just filling your head with more facts or noise.
What does that kind of presence with a story offer us now? Something to think about.
Today, we're plunging into a story that feels both ancient and surprisingly relevant to our own lives, really. our source material for this deep dive. It's some compelling excerpts from a tale called The Elf's Midnight Visit. And it's a narrative that, well, on the surface, it hints at disobedience, maybe desire, and definitely a kind of a midnight temptation. But our mission isn't just retelling it, right? We're here to sort of extract these surprising nuggets of knowledge, insights from what might seem like just a simple fantasy tale. We'll focus on themes like forbidden curiosity, the real power of choice, and how echoes of hidden pasts can shape things. We follow a young queen, her journey in this really mysterious encounter.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating about stories like this, even, fictional ones, is how they tap into universal human stuff, that allure of hidden truths, the pull of the unknown. These are things we all feel, I think, whether it's literally a locked door or maybe just a secret wish. So as we get into this story, I really hope you, listening, will think about what these elements might mean in your own experiences, your own choices.
That's a perfect way to frame it. Okay, let's set the scene. We meet this queen, described as crowned young, that immediately suggests, a lot of responsibility, maybe too early. And right off the bat, she's bound by this one single strict rule given by these figures, the seers. They seem like the mysterious authority figures here. And the rule is simply, never open the tower door after dusk. Now, this tower isn't just some old building. The text says it stood tall, framed by dying ivy and moon-kissed stone. It's untouched by time. And it mentions silver runes shimmered faintly on the iron hinges. So hinting at maybe ancient magic protections.
Definitely suggests something more than just stone and metal.
It's imposing, enigmatic, always been there for her. And the mystery is thick, right? Some said it was cursed. Others whispered it was a prison. But here's the key. No one knew for certain because no one dared to enter. This door has been always closed for her whole life. It's fundamental.
And what's truly fascinating there isn't just, the basic idea that forbidden things are tempting. We all know that. I think the deeper thing is how this absolute prohibition, especially wrapped in so much mystery, it doesn't just invite curiosity. It almost cultivates this deep-seated, maybe even ancestral urge to break the rule. This rule, meant to protect or contain something, it ironically becomes the very trigger for her whole journey. It sets up an internal conflict before anything external even happens.
Huh. I hadn't quite thought of it like the rule itself being the real catalyst. So how does that latent desire start to bubble up in the queen?
The story says the turning point was until the dreams began. She starts having these recurring visions. She sees herself barefoot before the door, hears a low hum, and she's reaching for the handle. But she always wakes up just before touching it. And these visions, they grew stronger with each passing frost, like an internal rhythm getting louder.
Almost inevitable. Yeah, exactly. And then the 13th night of the frost moon, something different happens.
Yeah.
A knock broke her slumber. And the sound is described so precisely, it's almost unsettling. Tap, tap, tap. 3 deliberate knocks. Not frantic, not polite, just certain chills.
Very deliberate, not accidental.
Right. So then she makes this journey, drawn by, it says, an unseen force, through empty chambers, corridors, past slumbering guards who did not stir, which is interesting in itself.
Like the world conspired to let her pass.
Yeah. And crucially, when she gets to the tower, no silver wards glowing. The magic's down or off. And the door itself, when she touches it, pulsed beneath her palm, warm like breath.
Wow.
And here's where it gets really interesting. A voice whispers from inside, I've come for what was hidden and what belongs to me. That last bit, what belongs to me, what do you make of that, given the rule, the tower, everything?
Oh, it's powerful, isn't it? If we try to connect this to the bigger picture, the dreams, that deliberate knock, they feel less like random things happening to her, and more like, well, maybe an external sign of an inner yearning, or maybe even a predestined path finally coming to the surface. It's like the outside world is suddenly aligning with her inner desires, or maybe even forgotten histories, pushing her towards this moment. And the elf's claim, what belongs to me, that hints at something much deeper, an almost ancestral connection. It suggests this isn't just some random encounter, it's maybe a reclaiming.
So it's not just curiosity driving her, but maybe this deep-seated connection pulling her. And what a moment. She faces this huge choice, turn away and forget, or open the door and know.
Yeah.
And she chooses knowledge. She opens it, feels an ancient breeze, and then there he is. He stands before her, taller than any elf she had seen, though not of the high courts.
So not part of the known establishment. Makes him even more of an outsider, more mysterious.
Exactly. His appearance is striking. Hair dark as the void between stars, skin silvered, eyes that shimmered like frost. And significantly, he did not bow. No deference there.
Interesting. Defiance, or maybe just equality?
Could be. And even more intriguing, he just looks at her and says, "You called me," even though she hadn't said a word.
Right.
He then explains his imprisonment, saying, "They buried the truth in stories and they locked me away with time, and still you open the door."
Mm. There's a paradox here, isn't there? If she called him, how much was free will versus destiny? Well, this raises that important question about, inherited legacies, forgotten pacts.
Hmm.
His identity is presented so profoundly. A promise, a sin, a secret your blood once made. That's heavy stuff. And the way he looks at her, not with hunger, but with memory, as if he knew her deeply. It suggests this connection goes way beyond just this moment, so maybe her choice wasn't really a choice like we think of it, but more like an awakening, a pre-existing memory surfacing, or fulfilling some ancient contract. It's almost like the calling was her own forgotten lineage stirring inside her, compelling her.
That definitely makes the stakes feel even higher. And then he puts the decision squarely on her, challenges her almost. He offers, "I won't claim you unless you ask," and then just waits. Still, silent, waiting. So the queen is left there, right on the edge of everything she knows and everything forbidden. The source shows her internal struggle. She remembers the dreams, the fire they left in her chest, this ache of yearning she could never explain.
Like her body already knew something her mind didn't.
Exactly. It's like she'd been preparing for this unknowingly. And then she asks the question, "What happens if I ask?"
Mhm.
And his answer is potent, too. It emphasizes both knowledge and this transient bond. "Then you will know, and I will belong to you until dawn."
Until dawn, that limitation is key.
It is. And her action follows. She steps closer, touches his chest, and just says, "Then stay." And in that moment, deeply symbolic, the candle went out.
So what does this final decisive choice mean for her, for the story's themes?
It's a profound midnight bargain, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, it represents a conscious choice. She chooses knowledge. She chooses intimacy, even knowing it's temporary, explicitly temporary. That phrase, "I will belong to you until dawn," it implies this transient but incredibly powerful connection, a total surrender to the moment. It's about accepting a transformative experience, whatever the consequences might be, just for the sake of knowing. And the candle going out. Yeah, it's not just darkness. It symbolizes her stepping out of her ordinary life, beyond the rules, into this realm of pure experience. And the description of their time together is extraordinary. Time unraveled. They moved through shadow and breath. The depth of their connection is stressed. He kissed her like memory. She touched him like prophecy. That's more than just physical, right?
Oh, much more. It speaks to something elemental, fated even.
Yeah, and a key detail. He spoke her true name, the one no one knew, the one the seers hid. She gasped. That must have been shattering.
To be truly seen, truly named, after being defined by a role and hidden truths. Powerful.
And he performs these ancient rituals, tracing ancient sigils on her skin, runes of bonding and release. These symbols suggest a deep connection being sealed, but also maybe unsealed, because each mark shimmered, then faded.
Temporary, like the bargain itself. Acknowledged, but not permanent.
The story emphasizes this transcendence, saying they did not speak much after that. Language was too small. They just lay among the ruins of old magic, and significantly, her crown set aside. That detail speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Setting the crown aside. That's her shedding the royal identity, the duties, maybe even her given name, embracing something deeper, more elemental within herself. And this leads to that really poignant moment. He asks her what she feared most.
Right. Her answer, being forgotten.
And his reply is just perfect. Then remember this. The connection isn't just physical or emotional. It's about creating this indelible memory, something that defies time, defies rules. He's not just giving her a night. He's giving her an unshakable truth, a memory to hold on to, answering her deepest fear with the promise of being remembered, or at least remembering.
And then he leaves. The stars began to fade. He gets up, barefoot, silent. Just says, "I must go to where the day cannot follow." Very evocative.
Back to the shadows, the mystery.
Her question is heartbreakingly universal. "Will I see you again?" And his reply is enigmatic, chilling almost. "You open the door, the tower remembers. As do I."
Wow, so the act itself created a lasting link, even if he's gone.
Seems like it. And his exit is unique too. He vanished. Not through the door, but into mist.
Underscoring his otherworldly nature.
Right, the aftermath is equally haunting. The queen never spoke of that night. Too sacred, maybe. Too dangerous. Yet, every frost moon she walks to the tower barefoot and listens. A private ritual. And the narrative ends with this lingering echo. Sometimes she hears 3 soft knocks. Tap, tap, tap.
So the connection isn't entirely severed. It still calls to her.
It seems so. A deeply resonant image of a choice, once made, just continuing to echo. So we've journeyed pretty deep into the elf's midnight visit, explored how forbidden curiosity can lead to hidden truths, how one profound choice can ignite these forgotten desires, and how echoes of a hidden past can ripple through a whole life. It really is a unique blend, isn't it? Fantasy, but also deeply relatable human experiences, showing us maybe that some secrets are meant to be uncovered, even if it means stepping into the unknown.
Indeed. This tale really prompts you to think about the significance of opening those metaphorical forbidden doors in our own lives, the potential for both deep understanding and those lasting echoes of choices. It's huge. It encourages us, I think, to consider the power of our own curiosity and how the memories that shape us, whether they come from following the rules or whispering secrets, are truly indelible. They stick with us.
So maybe the final thought for you, listening, is this. What forgotten secrets might you have buried within yourself, maybe locked behind some metaphorical door? Or what unexpected knock might you be drawn to answer if you dared to listen closely enough? Is it destiny calling the shots, or is it simply a deep-seated desire finally finding its voice? The enduring power of memory suggests some choices, once we make them, can never truly be forgotten. They shape who we are long after the moment itself fades. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.